Hot summer days, followed by loudish campsite evenings and warm summer nights. Beautiful sunrises, productive days, quiet evenings, and the most beautiful sunsets, with the trees sparkling in the last light. Rain, fog. Do we even know where we're going anymore? Much energy spent, much energy given, less sleep, more sun. Not always just quiet, but when, soaked in like a needed bath after days of hiking. I feel like the summers here, at least for me, create such a contrast. Challenge and rest, immense beauty and heat. Sweaty, hot, long days, but the rewarding livelihood of all beings dancing with the magic and vastness of the longest days of the year. Celebrating life, giving, abundance everywhere. Hey everyone, it's me again. It's been a little while since my last vlog, but here I am again telling you how my summer has been and also what I reflected during this very intense time and what I learned and figured out for myself. At the beginning of June, I found myself in Berlin doing a further education course, which was pretty intense for a few days, and it was a further education for opening rooms for people to share physical contact without any kind of sexuality. For me, I did this because I wanted to learn if I am the type of person who maybe wants to work with people. And 1 month later, at the beginning of July, which I didn't film, I have been on a festival at the other edge of Germany, 5 days with complete beautiful strangers doing things like yoga and meditations and ecstatic group dances on the beach, which was just the best time ever. For those of you who know the channel, you know that I love my life here. For those of you who don't, I live in this camper for 3.5 years now. Let me catch both of you up a little bit. So yes, I love my life here, but there is a part of me that is the whole time since I live here, not constantly, but in phases. Like there are phases where I'm extremely happy here, and then there are phases where I think, okay, maybe it's time for my life to evolve in a different way. Isn't life maybe only about appreciating the here and now, but isn't it also about moving forward and evolving? And how can we maybe combine these two extremes in a healthy and good way? And how do we find out what is our specific path? Before we get to the answers of these questions, I'm going to take you along a few minutes on how my last 2 months have been, what I've been up to, and which kind of actions and thoughts led me to the conclusions that I found out for myself that I hope are going to be helpful for your path as well. So let's roll the clippies and get into what I've been up to. So this is what my garden looked like in the beginning of June, and throughout the month I was ripping all the weeds out and just making it pretty again. I also plan on adding more flowers to the garden, and there is still the decoration thing that I'm going to do with the camper, which is actually something I'm going to do probably October-ish, before it gets really, really cold. But before that, there are many things in preparation for winter that I will share in the next video, I think, or the video in September. But for now, let's just turn to the weeds and the reflections that I had during these last 2 months. My last 2 months have been intense, and I definitely pushed myself out of my comfort zone with the adventures that I just talked about. Also, there was a lot to do at the office job that I earn money with at the moment. And this summer, being one of the hottest summer in Germany ever, I couldn't sleep that well, also because of the constant heat. But I learned a lot during this time, and also I set myself up for doing more in the garden and at the camper, which I already talked about in my last vlog, which worked out so well. So I didn't turn to these weeds where my stones are for a full year, I think. That's the reason why everything looks the way it looks. And actually the technique that I have used at the beginning of June in the clips you see is working so well, which is just getting it out and cooking it with boiling water, and you'll have peace from weeds for such a while. I'm not the kind of person who needs or actually even wants a garden which looks perfect to normal standards. I really like things being natural, like my grass, for example, which I do cut maybe each month in the summer season, just so that I can walk my garden and still be able to access it. And you know, it's beautiful to have flowers everywhere in the grass, and there are bees everywhere, and actually weeds, if you look at them this way, they are just flowers as well. And why would you want to get them out of your grass when you can just enjoy these flowers in the summer, when you can look at them, when you can smell them, and when you can see all the tiny insects being around them and just allowing life to happen in your garden. Of course, everything has its limits, and I for myself set some boundaries around the topic just to be able to still have a garden and to access the places I want to access, and also to have it in a certain aesthetic, but I don't compromise nature and what nature intended to do in my garden. Around 5 years ago, I romanticized living kind of the way I live right now, like in a tiny house somewhere in the woods, kind of isolated. Then I romanticized the lifestyle that I live now, which I then pretty abruptly chose to live because I had a burnout at the time and needed to really do some shifts. I love the way I live, but there are also things that I really hated about this lifestyle. And honestly, for me, and a lot of that over the last years would have to do with the kind of people that I like around me, and me feeling that in my current living situation not being at the point where I have that here where I live, but which I think many people do. And the question is, do I need my tribe living around me, or may it also be okay for my tribe to be in different places than the next camper or the next tiny house or the next living situation around me? Then I had the phase where I thought, okay, maybe I want to live somewhere secluded, even more in the forest, like the hut in the middle of the forest in Sweden. So that's actually one of the reasons why I drove to Sweden 2 summers ago. And I looked for myself, do I maybe want to do a half-time van life situation, which actually also was a dream at that time, and part-time living in a hut in Sweden somewhere, or maybe one of the two things. So I drove to Sweden. I figured out I'm not the travel kind of person. I like my home, and maybe I travel once or twice a year, but that's it. Maximum, I just want to be somewhere where it's completely beautiful for me, and then I actually don't need that much more, and I don't need to run away from places all the time. And I also figured out living completely alone in the woods would be nothing for me, and I think it wouldn't be for many people. I think the idea is very romantic, especially when you're burnt out, especially when you have a job you don't like and maybe people around you that you don't like that much. It's completely a fantasy that it might be so nice. Maybe for some people it's ideal, but I think for most of us we would go crazy living completely alone and never hearing another person and rarely seeing another person. For me, I figured out it's definitely something I don't want to do. And then a few months later, maybe, I started idealizing the idea of living in an eco-village, because I felt like the people surrounding me here are not very into ecologic thinking, and at the time that really triggered me, which actually changed. I still am a very sustainable person, but I'm not triggered that much as I was before when people are not as sustainable as me. So I idealized the thought of maybe living in an eco-village one day, while also loving my camper and the lifestyle I live now. But I thought, okay, maybe I can search for an eco-village and maybe that's the life to be, and I want to be around my tribe and my people. And there's nothing bad about this thought, but I booked eco-villages. I was going to visit one in August and one in September this year, and actually I cancelled both of the trips. One because the first eco-village that I booked, I found out about the eco-village some things that are just not something I want to deal with. For example, they don't like dogs. I have a dog, so that's that. And the other eco-village is in another country, in the Netherlands, which is kind of fine, but I don't see myself learning another language in the next 2 years. That's just how I think right now. And I just figured out, after idealizing this idea and coming to the first moments where things come up that are not ideal, that actually, and this is just a brief example, there were many other things that were not very ideal about these places. I then had a point where I began to realize that maybe this eco-village scenario is just another fantasy of mine, that is another imperfect lifestyle, like this one I have, or any other lifestyle you can have, living completely alone in the woods, or doing van life, or living around your tribe of people. And then I asked myself, what do I try to find in the outside world that I don't have right now? Because these were actually the things that I was subconsciously seeking for in the outside world before. With the idea of living alone in the woods, I was searching for peace. Okay, I think I have to close the windows now because someone is cutting the grass somewhere in the field over there. I already lived by the woods, and this search for nature and quiet and peace was already there, and I just would have to take more time to establish that. And also I really learned living here that the peace you seek is internal. You can be in a quiet forest, and yes, it helps, but not long term. If you don't establish the peace and the quiet in yourself, the thoughts and the things that fuck you up and everything else will come up in this peaceful environment as well. So changing only your surroundings doesn't make this conscious thinking or whatever, or these emotions, it doesn't quiet it. It just maybe shifts the focus for a while because you're euphoric that you changed your life, and you're euphoric because you're living around all this nature, which is great. And yes, it can very help to get peace, but if you don't establish the peace in yourself, you won't find it in the outside world long term. So it's extremely important to establish it in yourself and to go deep into what causes this feeling of being not at peace. For me, that actually had a lot to do with expecting the outside world and also myself to be a certain way. But you can never expect that, and there will always be challenges, and overcoming challenges makes you grow, and it makes you learn things about yourself, and that's actually a very, very beautiful thing. And also all these imperfect people that are around us, they also teach us things, and you can grow to a state of love even when things are not perfect, and when you establish, or at least acceptance for everything that surrounds you and everything that is inside of you, and to just accept everything that is there in your life, you will get to the sense of peace. And when you're there, it's extremely cool to have a forest around you where you can just have time for yourself. At least that's the way it is for me. But there's no way around facing your demons, and nothing in the outside world and no lifestyle can ever fix what you need to work on for yourself and what you need to learn to love. Let's go back to the eco-village dream. So this dream has been crumbling for me in the last weeks, and I just realized actually I already am living exactly the way I want to live. It's not perfect. I may not be surrounded by my tribe, but I am surrounded by trees and the forest. And also most of the people here at the campsite are good people that don't mean any harm and that are just friendly and open in their own way. And you know, I found my people. I found some really good friends along my way in the last years when I went out for doing some things around people where you meet people, and I'm extremely grateful for that. So in a way I have my tribe. It's not living here, but I have my tribe, and also I'm a kind of person, I don't like to be told what to do and just want to do my own kind of thing, I guess, most of the time. And when I did my own kind of thing, it's beautiful to have people around that you can talk to and that you can really share something with. But I don't, at the time, don't see myself working with others that much. And if you would live in an eco-village, you would work with others. And at the time, I don't know if that's for me. Maybe I try it out one day, we will see. But I don't idealize this way of living anymore, because I want to get up at the time I want to get up, and I want to do things according to my energy levels, because that's extremely important for my type of person. And if I do things when I know that I don't have the energy for it, it's pretty bad, and I will need to recharge much more than if I just do the things when I really have the energy for them. And then my energy over time adds up and up and up, and that's beautiful. And also my life spirit adds up with the energy. So for me, it's simply perfect to do things my own way. And living with people you have at least some projects with, I think that might be a potential conflict. Also, I am a sustainable person, but I'm also a spiritual person. And I don't know at the time if living at a place where people are not spiritual but highly ecological, if that would fit me very well at the time. I don't know. What I do know is that we as people need adventure, and we need to be open for what life wants to show us and paths that we may take. I think it's not right to idealize always something else than the way you're living. I think, like in Buddhism, it's extremely important to see that you already have everything that you want, and that you are grateful and honor everything you already want, and see that nothing in the external world can fulfill you more than what you already have. At the same time, we still have the same genes than the people that lived so many thousand years ago that were living as nomads all around the globe. So that's also still inside of us, and I think denying that is something that's also not good for our nature. I don't think we need to be constantly traveling. I just mean to say that we need to allow for adventures to be in our lives. For example, the adventure that I took with the festival, or the adventure that I took by doing this further education course, or maybe if I in the next month take the adventure of visiting an eco-village. I might, we will see, I will tell you. We just all need some new impulses every once in a while, and we don't need to change our lives with these impulses, but I think we need just at least sometimes to go out of our comfort zone, but also to go out of the way of thinking that we have and see just a different perspective of how you can view life, and maybe a different part of your country or different people. It's extremely important for growth to give us these opportunities, and at the same time, most of the time, at least for me, it's extremely important to be in your routine and to really appreciate your life and to see all the things where you already have what you want. I mean, you can focus on what you don't have, or you can focus on what you have and see the love there. So you can have a lack mindset of whatever you achieve, you just want more, or you can have a growth mindset where you already see everything that's so abundant, and because abundance attracts abundance. For me, I really figured out, especially with all of the adventures that I did, that I really already live the way that I want to live, and that I am open for new opportunities and new people, and just open in general, but I'm not searching anymore. I don't need to change anything anymore, and I just want to be, and I just want to appreciate this life. Every day I'm living here and just doing what I love, like doing YouTube or doing my music. And if something is going to grow out of YouTube or music or my adventures or being around new people, something that is a bit different than what I have now, then I might be open for it. But I don't need anything to change, because I am so happy and fulfilled here and now, and I'm just extremely grateful for all the challenges and for all the beauty that are in my life, and that make me and this path unique, and that make me grow, but also fulfilled and settled in the moment, if I'm open to allow that in my system. That being said, I hope you all have a good day or night whenever you're watching this. Take care of yourself, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.